started. So today we're talking about AI in action and transforming rental management. We're going to talk about how, the AI is really reshaping how so many of us are working today. And I've got to say, it's always great to be surrounded by people who are smarter than you. And on this topic, I could not be in better company, because these guys are really going to be able to drive a lot of engaging information and insights for you here too. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start by introducing our panelists and have them kind of give you guys a brief background about them and their businesses, and then we'll end the poll and get going. So Alex, you're listed here on my screenshot first. So why don't you kick it off?
That sounds good. Well, thank you, Corin, for having us. Excited about this topic. I'm Alex Zemianek. I'm the founder and CEO of JZ Vacation Rentals and JZ Properties. Been in real estate since 2008, so almost 20 years, and started out in construction, now primarily managing about 70 units in Missouri and Colorado, and then we just started getting into boutique hotels. And then we have kind of a hybrid approach to this industry where we are also growing an OTA, a luxury online travel agent. So we're in 14 states and 3 countries. For that, I was not using AI much until January of this year. So I'm very excited to share some of those experiences. Nice to be here.
Love it. Valerie, you want to?
I certainly will. I'm Valerie Budd. I started Rent Branson in 2005. I did not start growing it, though, to the extent that we've been growing as much as we have till about 2018, 2019. And now we have approximately 330 properties. By the end of this year, we'll probably be about 400. Our team has grown tremendously. Scaling was a very interesting concept, but we are doing it. AI is now helping us do that quite a bit. And I'm very excited about this conversation. Love technology. In fact, before we got on, Alex had told me about a new toy and I already just bought it. So looking forward to this.
Amazing. Last but not least.
All right. So I'm Andrew Pokrzywinski. So I am one of the co-owners of Joseph Ellen Properties. So we're out of Northeast Florida. My wife and myself run this company together. We have close to 200 homes, about 90 million under management. And we have a management side of our business. We also have a pretty big design company as well. And this is a really exciting topic, because I remember there being so much talk about AI about 12 months ago. Now there's so much in the industry where it's starting to get put into play. We use it every single day. So excited to share a couple of nuggets that we're doing, and hopefully people can use it in their businesses.
I love it. Like I said, going to be super excited. Again, we talked about, if you are a regular attendee of our Elevates webinars, ask away, ask questions in the Q&A and the chat. We're happy to go through and answer those. And we'll be answering those towards the end of the conversation. I'm going to end our first poll, and we're going to go ahead and share the results. So the first poll was what your outlook on AI in our industry is. And so without further ado, over half of the people are excited, which is probably why you're all on this webinar. So this is great. And we're going to do a couple more polls as we get going, but let's jump right in to our first question. And so we're going to get started where, I think everybody is sort of thinking, and Andrew, you sort of alluded to it, about how much AI has evolved in the industry, and also sort of, how much people are really starting to use this in their businesses. And so, I'd love to hear from you guys about, how you've seen the evolution, not only in our industry, but in your own individual businesses.
Yeah, I can start with that. It's super exciting, because I remember a year ago, or a little bit over a year ago, everybody was just talking about it, and it was kind of like a fad, but nobody knew what it was. Now we have PMSs that are built with AI. We have, there's a lot of guest-facing softwares with AI. I feel like there's a company that's popping up every other day that kind of is backed by a GPT or AI. We are actually, personally, I use it every single day in our business. And I think we have went from, kind of the infancy stage to using it as a resource. It's involved in a lot of our operations. And it's extremely important. So like, fun fact, we have been in business kind of going on 4 years, and we got into the business because Alex's company actually helped us a ton in the very beginning. The reason why that's important is it helped me get from A to B because I didn't know what I didn't know. I see AI as a very similar resource to a lot of people, to where it shouldn't necessarily be a crutch, but it's an incredible way to get from A to B and grow your company.
I love that. Alex, you're doing all kinds of great things. I have a big thanks to him as well, because Alex was so generous to give his time to talk about this and other topics at our Elevate summit last month. And I said, Alex, we didn't get to talk about AI enough. We need to talk more about it. We got to do a monthly webinar, and he helped very much with bringing both Andrew and Valerie in as some of the folks that he talks a lot about with this type of topic. So I appreciate that. How about for you? How what's your sort of experience been?
Yeah. Well, thank you for all that, and thanks for the kind words, Andrew. I agree with you. Like, it has been an advice platform for me, very significantly. Just to rewind and answer your question, I'm going to throw some kudos at Valerie, because we were both at IMN and I was using AI, and I've been on like a couple tech panels where we're talking about technology and stuff. And I remember VRMA technology panel a couple of years ago, we were starting to introduce the future and we were talking about AI. That is so far gone. And I didn't really realize that until, meaning the incorporation of it is quite extensive now that I've learned. And so in January, show up to IMN, do a panel that day. I see Valerie. I'm about to go back up to my room. Valerie nudged me about going to this session, this roundtable session where we could all chat and share ideas similar to what we're doing today. And I definitely learned very quickly, within maybe 60 seconds, that I was the dumbest one in that room and that I was way behind. And so the evolution from then till now is I saw AI very externally. That was the lens that I was looking through. I saw it as a tool to write my emails better than I can, to read emails faster than I can. And it was very much like a writing tool, because that's what was discussed. Like, is this going to replace content writer? It is so far past that, and being this chatbot system, which I think is still announced a lot. So we talked about this. We talk about this a lot of how to look at AI and how it can help you in operationally. So I'll give you an analogy that I gave at the last Elevate that just has helped me and it's helped others. I kind of realized that I walked into this room and I was holding an axe coming at an operational set of trees. Valerie's laughing at me because she's holding a chainsaw that I didn't even know existed. And everybody, it's really that, like, jobs may not always be replaced with AI. Some will. I mean, that is just a fact. In my organization, I can say from January to now, which is barely 4 months, 3 months, really, we now have custom GPTs. We have all of these things that we have implemented that takes something that takes a week and turns it into a day, or a day and turns it into a minute. And it's just looking at ways to take that old school way, which is becoming the old school way, and turning it into a faster way to get things done, which we'll get into some applicable examples. I just wanted to give the high levels. We are using it very much for project management now, to read blueprints, paralegal assistant. It has evolved very much from me seeing it as an external source and how's it going to reply to guests and stuff like that, to how do we use it for like predictive maintenance. As an example, with Breezeway, we can upload an entire 6 months of a Slack channel, and now we can predict the maintenance that we need to get ahead of. So, I could go on and on and on, but I'm sure we'll get into more. But that's just how it's very, very quickly evolved for me, and why I'm passionate to share it with others, because the growth is very exponential right now. So I learned in my experience that if I don't get on board very quickly, then I was already behind and I'll be way behind.
So we've used it, and thank you for those kind words too, by the way.
All
Yeah,
true.
it was a great meeting. It really was. But we use it in a lot of different ways. On a very basic, which most people are using it for descriptions to some extent, of course, and then just send emails. And a great example is you can completely personalize it to who you want it to be in terms of the personality. For example, we have an employee that reaches out to a lot of vendors, a lot of warranties, a lot of builders, and she's a little bold, I would say, very to the point. So I told her every email she sends out, I want her to put into chat, make this nice and friendly. And the first email I got that I was copied on, I mean, I was cracking up because it completely changed the tone, but her response and return rate of people in engaging with her has so improved. So that's on a very personal note. But what we did back in October of 2023, I was at a conference and we prototype and beta tested a company, and they've actually been in our website now for a year and a half almost. It went live in January of last year, so it's already had a whole year to learn who we are. But it has increased our average reservation by $250 per reservation. So mind you, we have over 300 properties. We have over 10,000 reservations. That's a lot of revenue. So we've taken it not only an individual, and then we've done a lot of agents, which we'll talk about during this time and what we've done. Very excited about it.
It's so interesting because last week I was at the VRMA Foundations event, and Sue Jones talked about that tone and how tonality and and I don't remember the percentages, but it's like how we say it, what we say, and the way that we deliver it, and the percentage I think was like under 15%. I want to say it was under 10, but it might have only been under 15% of like what we're actually saying is what people are hearing or reading and seeing. And so that example, Valerie, of just changing that tone and the increase in response, and like probably a more positive response to whatever the message was, it can be incredibly powerful. I think I want to do another quick poll in here, and then we're going to sort of talk a little bit, because I think we're going to talk about how you guys are using it, and you guys have already sort of mentioned a couple of areas in your businesses that you're using it. But I want to hear from folks in the audience. How are you using AI in your businesses today? Because I think this will be really directional for our team of panelists here to sort of understand where everybody's sort of, we know what people are excited about it, but understand how they're sort of using it. And so, while we let people go through it, Alex, you mentioned custom GPT. And that's something that you guys have built and you guys are using. And I believe at least one other of you are using something similar in your businesses. So let's talk a little bit about that. What is it? How do you do it? What are the benefits you've seen for folks who maybe aren't using that in their businesses today?
I love it. There's a couple. Operator, I think Valerie would be great to talk about. And I'll talk about the custom GPTs and Andrew, Phil, and whatever. But what I learned, like when I was sitting in that session, and it was led by a data scientist, track, really, really very, very intelligent guy. And that conversation carried on for another 2 hours after that session, and just brainstorming and learning a lot about some of the futures and stuff. What I learned in his session, people were referring to names, and I'm like, Jennifer, wait, I'm confused. Remember that, Valerie? Like, who is Jennifer? And they're like, oh, Jennifer's my marketing assistant. Like, it's just normal, right? Common thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so I learned that a custom GPT, the real difference for me and what I've learned so far is that custom GPT is kind of like a departmental employee for us. So like I had a construction leader / project manager / maintenance supervisor that's fulfilling all of those needs, because I have two entities, JZ Vacation Rentals, which is what most people know, and then JZ Properties, which is my investment entity and for construction. Well, that position didn't work out. And then I didn't necessarily ever have to let anybody go. I was able to look and reassess and find ways to give raises, honestly. And and we didn't have to replace a position. We were actually able to build a custom GPT that is now our project manager for construction. We only have one construction. It's a major one. It's our corporate office building. And we're doing a build out. Well, I've built before. I've done construction for almost 20 years. I can read a blueprint. I can do a lot of those things. My team doesn't do it a lot, number one. Number two, it takes me hours if I get a $60,000 bid to be able to go through that plumbing bid and then go through the blueprint and mechanical engineering drawings. Whereas a custom GPT, what you do is you're training it. So it's like using ChatGPT, but just for you, because you're building your own private GPT. So you upload all of the things you want it to know. You're basically teaching it what you want it to be. That could be a paralegal. That could be your marketing assistant. That could be, like for us, it's a department. So now we have a maintenance department GPT. I joined Missouri Vacation Homes Alliance that Valerie is also president and board member on. And we have a MOVA, Missouri Vacation Homes Alliance. We have a MOVA GPT that will capture every single transcription, every single summary, and it'll pull all of that in. So basically it's an ongoing knowledge system. Whereas if you just jump in and use the general chat GPT, it's amazing for everything you need it to do. And a chat, one individual chat, will remember everything that you've discussed with it. So it's just faster and easier because it knows you, your situation, it knows everything that you've taught it or you want it to know at least. Whereas a custom GPT, it's a little bit more ongoing. So it's better for like longer term work. I can go to the MOVA GPT and say, I really need to know what was discussed in that board meeting that I missed that was 2 hours long, 6 weeks ago. And it could tell me anything I want to know. I can just ask it questions. So that's really the difference in my experience. And Andrew, I believe you said that you kind of dove in a rabbit hole of custom GPTs. Maybe you could finish your point there, and Valerie could talk about the operator, which is another just an underused and undervalued, I think, tool in AI.
Yeah, we were texting the other day, and I kind of went crazy on the custom GPT. So the way that we kind of see it is, it's a resource and a tool to make our team make better decisions. So we've built out a custom GPT for revenue management. So I've had multiple conversations with revenue managers. They will quote me $5,000 to $6,000, $7,000 a month due to our size. So I built out a custom GPT that plugs into Wheelhouse, and I can download my calendars and it gives recommendations. It takes me 30 minutes to update rates. So that's just one very small way that we're using it. But one important thing to kind of note is it's all with the prompts. So it's a learning machine, right? Kind of like you had mentioned. So the more information that you feed into it. So just to give you another example, we have a custom GPT for our property managers where we uploaded our CRM from Monday.com in there. So if they have a question, if they need an answer, if they need a professional way to respond to a guest, it'll craft that based on our actual business. And I know there's a lot of talk around the guest facing side, which is great. Like it's experienced copywriter. There's ways to replace the way that you respond to emails and guest messages. But one thing that I have gotten a lot of value out of is having kind of an AI board of directors. So I use the custom GPTs for that as well. So not only just our team, so guest communication, making better decision on property management things, but also like I have a finance one, I have a marketing one, I have one that's just a vacation rental advisor. So I'll often go back and forth with that as a soundboard to make decisions. So we're actually trying to make a couple acquisitions right now, and it helps me come up with deal structures, things that make sense and don't make sense. So there is unlimited ways that you can kind of use these custom GPTs, but you just have to feed it the information that you want to and customize it to your business. I've been playing a little bit with the GPT operator as well, but Valerie, maybe that's something that you can touch on.
I will, but if I may jump on the custom GPT, because we had an individual that worked for us from the maintenance department, and then he left us to go to coding school. He didn't completely finish coding school, lived in another state, reached out to me and said, hey, I want to come back to Branson, but I'll come under the reservation team. Thought about it, and I realized his skills set. So we brought him as a reservation team, but I also hired him as my AI builder. Oh my gosh, what he's building, I'm like beyond the moon. He made a reservation agent. So we have all these Google Docs. We have the protocols on what the the reservation team does, and it's already documented. So he not only created a chat GPT, but he created an extension. So it's actually on everyone's Chrome, so they could just drop it down. So it already knows all of our protocols, all our processes. So if a guest calls in and said, hey, how far is this property? Mind you, we have a lot of properties. They can ask the agent quickly and it can answer it, so they don't have to go look up all the docs. If a guest calls in and said, hey, my refrigerator's really warm, they can look up and say, what's my answer to a guest, without having to go and search it. It's all right there. They also have templates that they can design within this extension themselves. So they can create their own templates to make answers for them easier. We also have a community map that all our developments have maps, so they can pull up. So if someone says, hey, I want to rent 3 properties next to each other, they may not know where they're located, but they can see it. Then they can also see, we have several reservationists. They can also see the team calendar. So they know who's in charge of text messages, who's in charge of tasks, who's in charge of answering the phone calls. They can see right then and there who's on deck, so to speak. Super excited. We have custom forms in there so that if an owner calls in, hey, I have this question, they know how to answer and send it to whichever owner ambassador. So that's one thing that we've been doing. We also have a chat GPT for dispatch. So we have a lot of brand new properties that have warranty issues. So is this under warranty? I don't know, but our dispatch now has their own agent, so they can look up all those things as well. He's also creating, we have live chat. It just is not working the way we want. So we're building one for ourselves right now. And I'm super excited. He uses something also called Visual Studio Code, which I know enough, but I don't know as much as he does, which is wonderful. So I really suggest bringing someone in so that they can help you put these great ideas together. So talking about operators, so just so everyone understands, ChatGPT, if you pay the $20 more a month or what, and again, I'm not affiliated with it, I'm just sharing knowledge, nothing to do with these businesses, but it's worth the $20 because you'll be able to take it a step farther. The next level up is 200. And we actually started with 3, believe it or not. It was kind of silly, but we needed to, because we needed to keep them separate. So I bought 3 subscriptions, one for our team, one for my marketing department, and one for me. After using the first, I would say 2 weeks, it was amazing. It's not as amazing anymore. Sorry to say. What we were able to have it do, it works in the background. So you could tell it, oh, go here, use this email and go and do this process for me. An example, and just nothing to do with the industry, is someone said that they were getting married. And they said, go find all the different vendors out there in this specific area and find out what their rates are so that they can actually supply all the food and cater this event. So it did all the legwork. You could see it in the background. It's gotten, when we had it do a task one day, 2 days later, we asked it to do it again and it wouldn't do it. So I've actually moved over to Grok. I actually like Grok much better. It's Elon's. It's a little more the Wild West. There's things I will not touch it and ask it to do because I know it's kind of creepy out there. But I've really enjoyed that one as well.
So
But
Valerie, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I know we're going to get questions. Can you spell that new tool that you're using? So we have,
GROK.
okay, so we have operator, which is through
Operator's part of ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. And then this is a separate, different program that is serving a purpose for you guys at this point.
Right.
Yeah, and basically, OpenAI is the company, and the last couple of weeks, even just knowing that this call, like I take this stuff seriously because I've been writing notes while I'm here. I don't even need to write them down anymore because we're transcribing them. But still, it's habit. But I learn every time I do any of this stuff. But I've been falling asleep to some YouTube AI videos, and OpenAI CEO talking about the future and the past, and I was looking at adoption and a lot of these things where, so like OpenAI is really the one that introduced ChatGPT, which is there's a CEO and then there's Elon Musk that is a co-founder in that. And then Elon Musk created his own, which is Grok. I just heard about Grok maybe a month ago myself and haven't really played around with it. So I will likely be going down a couple rabbit holes this week. Thank you, Valerie. The rabbit holes are real, so budget time for them and be able to cut them off, because it's very intriguing when you start seeing and finding these ways to save you, I'm not kidding, a year's worth of stuff that you can do in such a small time frame. Whether it's a custom GPT or the operator, like operator for me, I'm still learning it too. And it is a little like I'll give you one example because I think stories help. Like I am selling this in the background. It's no longer Jay-Z, it's our old office building. It's STL Aesthetics, and we're selling this building. And anyways, I took 45 minutes to create my own CoStar, LoopNet, marketing, all of the things. I was using ChatGPT to put in the content. That's how I always used it before. I get to the end, I hit save, it doesn't save. I'm ready to eat dinner. And so, it says it's saving, it says it's updating. I close it, I come back, gone, everything I did. So I'm discouraged and I'm like, forget it. I got to do this another time. And like, you know what? I'm going to try operator. And I did. I pulled it up while I was about to go eat, and it took 45 minutes and it built the CoStar listing for me because I just had to feed it information and I just had to log it in. And it's really kind of creepy cool because it looks like you're on a web call like we are, where you're watching it and it's got 17 browsers up and you can see it doing all of these things for you. The other way that the first way I ever used Operator was in our Minoan Experience account. We use them for finding or wholesale buying they have a couple hundred brands at a discount for all things design, and we furnish homes. I know Joseph Allen Designs, I know you guys do this a lot. So, going to search on Wayfair alone has a lot of SKUs to search for if you're searching for a bed or sheets or linens or whatever you're searching for. Now you throw 250 brands into one web page. I don't know half those brands, so it's very difficult for me to do it. And I was doing this for my son, trying to find him some stuff for his room. There used to be a video function that whatever you see, it sees, and that was by far my favorite feature. That is still in other platforms, just not in ChatGPT right now. Meaning I could go in my son's room and I just said, what do you see? And it said, looks like you have a boy that likes soccer. And I mean, it just named all of these things off, just assuming based on what it can see. So what I told it to do after it basically helped me design my son's room is take all of that and put it in a version I can give to Operator. And then Operator went and built the cart and got it all ready for me to order. And so it is more of an actionable GPT, if that helps to kind of summarize it. And custom GPTs, just look at it as like long-standing work where you are updating the information. I use it personally to be like, what do I have to do this week? Or what is coming up for my kids' schedules? I upload my kids' stuff now. And so then I have the entire calendar with one iCal link that is connected with ChatGPT. So I can just have it tell me every week with automatic reminders what I got to show up to. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to give that summary in case it helps.
Absolutely. And I think, it's funny. We're talking a lot about ChatGPT or custom GPTs or operators or Gronk. I mean, first of all, I'm, as I said at the beginning, this is outside of my wheelhouse. I usually feel real comfortable and knowledgeable about what we're talking about. But I'm very glad to have these folks here. But I do think, right, like, we talked about tone, we talked about operational efficiency, and at Breezeway, we are leaning heavily into AI currently for a lot of our messaging functionality, but also for our Assist product, right? And I think that when you have a repository of a lot of really great information and you can make it easier to save time, so that instead of having to go into the property page and find the warranty information or do this or find this information, right? And you can hit like a smart replies button, and that smart reply is going to look at all of the information within your platform or your, the listings, the information that you have, and pull up the right answer, right? The efficiency, Valerie, you talked about it with your team, is exponential. And then you're moving on to the next thing, and you know that everybody is getting the same consistent answer. I think that's just incredible. And our Assist, our team created here at Breezeway, our blueprint. And so for folks who are using our Assist product, which is the after hours call service, right? So if you don't want to take those calls at 11 or 12 or 2, our team will do that for you. But they have now essentially created the base bone of put in the information that's important, put in the processes that you want, and we're going to use that combined with the knowledge that we have about your properties to drive the right answers and to help your team be able to answer those questions for your guests. I mean, it's incredibly powerful. And I'm curious, Andrew, on your end, sort of how how managers who are on this call can sort of think about how can we find the balance between automation and that personal touch, right? Because there's so much concern if I automate this, like, what if it doesn't sound like me? What if it doesn't sound like my company, or it doesn't match the tone of the guest? How are you guys balancing that at Joseph Ellen?
Yeah, that's a very important topic, because we've ran into situations where, whether it's our property managers or our virtual assistant, kind of like guest services team, they would just plug it in and go. But we had to do specific trainings on the front end to where we had to show them how to use, GPTs or other AI as a resource and a tool and kind of an extension of yourself, rather than replacing the work, because I think that's where a lot of people will get in trouble. The good thing about the custom GPTs is you can kind of, you can shape tone and how it responds to certain things, but you still have a human on the other end, right? So we want our team using it as a tool, as a resource. So whether it's the property managers, and I'll give a couple examples. With our property managers, one thing that they do that's extremely time consuming is we do a lot of reports through Breezeway. So like our departure clean reports, our inspection reports, we have a million freaking reports that our team is doing. And they have to review those, because we have a section in our CRM that is like cleaner remarks, and they read all the reports and they build the remarks so we can do training. It also builds out our bonuses as well. So what we've started to do, and this goes back to using it as a resource and a tool to kind of leverage themselves in time, is we'll plug the reports into ChatGPT and do like a sentiment analysis, so we can scrape the data really quickly, because as many reservations as we're having, I mean, they might be reading 50 or 60 reports a day. So it's extremely time consuming to kind of pick out, where can our cleaners improve? Where can our property inspectors improve? Where did we drop the ball on this inspection? So it helps us leverage ourselves a little bit. And then whenever it comes to our guest services team, it's not just like plugging in, here's the answer. It's using it as a tool to kind of shape tone and know how to respond to certain things. So like I mentioned previously, we plugged our all of our data in CRM into GPT. So our guest services GPT. So if it says, hey, what's the code to this? Or, where is the breaker box here? It can read that and then recommend answers. So we still want them to actually respond to it, but they're using GPT as a tool to get that response a little bit quicker, not just throwing out a fake answer.
And you mentioned sentiment analysis, and I want to make sure, because it's something that that our team has been working on that I'm really excited about. And and we had in a different session at last month's Elevate Summit, we had a manager who was on, and they were talking about, like, one of the first things they do every morning is they come in and they read all the guest messages that have come in, and who's happy and who's not, and who do we need to pay attention to, and it's time consuming. And I said, well, you're going to be really excited, because we're going to start doing that for you. And so within Breezeway, we're going to have the messaging, we'll have guest sentiment built into messaging, where you guys will actually be able to come in and say, show me my happy guest, show me my not happy guest, show me, and then give me a conversation summary on what that looks like. And I think, like, leveraging things like like you said, Andrew, about like using things as a tool to then make your team more efficient is incredibly important. And I think that the real crux and like differentiating point around how we can use these resources to effectively run our business.
I may jump in. So we're using a review system that's AI driven as well, but we've created flags. And if it comes across, and we can pull reports based on these flags from the AI reviews that it pulls for us. And if it talks about cleaning house and how great it is and so forth, we are spiffing our housekeepers now based on those reports. So in fact, we just collaborated, it's going out this right now as we speak, because our housekeeping manager reviews it. She pulls the data, she reviews it, sends it to the people that pay out the spiffs. But cool way to do it. And then you could bring it internally as well. So for our res team, for example, if they get reference, hey, communication was great. There's so many ways you could do internal spiffs as well as external spiffs based on that.
Absolutely. Valerie or Alex, do you guys want to add anything on? I know Andrew talked, about leveraging the tool to continue the human touch and part of that. Anything you guys want to add on either of that before we on
Well,
that topic?
there's two things that both of them said that I just want to make sure that everybody captured. So like that is such a really, really good point, and it hit me too of like there's all of these chat bots out there and everybody is selling you. I know if you're on this call, you probably got at least 5 emails from another new AI chat bot that is out there. So what I heard from Valerie is basically that ChatGPT or a custom GPT, I should say, now allows you to have your own that you have full control of because you see the data, you see the memory, and in fact, you're the one that trains it. So you could take every conversation your support team has ever had with your guest and upload it in seconds. And it can analyze every bit of that and tell you all kinds of things that you can learn to coach and train. And then what happens when you build it in a custom GPT is it's just like a Google Sheet in the sense of it's private, just you, the custom GPT is, or it's shared with just your team, or it's shared publicly. So when you go into ChatGPT, because I'm sure we're throwing a lot at all of you guys, and just look at like ChatGPT is a little bit more universal. It's easy. You can use it today. You can literally leave this call and prompt it, teach me how to use you. And that's all you need to get started. For a custom GPT, it's also pretty easy to use once you get into it, because it turns all of us that don't know how to code and be developers. Some of you might, I definitely don't, but it turns us into developers very, very fast because you're building your own memory. So then when you go back to it and ask questions like Valerie was alluding to and Andrew was alluding to, then it knows your entire situation. So the answers are a little bit different. And then I want to take this, I don't want to forget this point. We might get into it in a little bit. Time goes fast. We're talking about AI.
It does go fast. I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, we only have 20 minutes left.
I have this theory kind of strike me because I'm always talking marketing. My head goes there a lot for direct bookings, growing, whatever. And I'm using ChatGPT. I don't really go to Google anymore. Like I don't really remember the last time I did, because it's kind of like my Alexa in the background, which is probably going to say something now that I said the name, but my kids are even starting to think that that's outdated because they've started to learn AI and incorporate ChatGPT. But the way that you use it and the way that it tracks and records all of your memory, it is a massive time saving for what you're able to do, because it knows each and every step of the way. So when I go and use my assistant GPT, I have somebody ridiculously smarter than me on my team, Nikolai, that has built already somewhat of an ecosystem just since January. To where, I'll give you an example, I have a call here, there'll be a transcription. That transcription will automatically land in a folder. That folder will automatically send that to my assistant GPT, and I am fully interconnected. So every single meeting I have throughout the week, my assistant GPT knows. It knows everything that was said. It also records all of the takeaways and action items. And then if I take that a step further, I can put that in Asana, Monday, or Trello, and it will automatically create those. So it's how far do you want to take it? How much do you want to do? You have to start slow, because you can ruin an entire week trying to build out the long-term ecosystem. But I just wanted to give some of those examples because the custom GPT is your way to kind of create this internal GPT, like both Andrew and Valerie have mentioned, and then look at that as like you're training an employee that will never forget everything you've taught it. So then all you're doing
leaving
is
you. They're not leaving you.
What's that?
And they're not leaving you.
And they're not leaving, hopefully.
Yeah. A couple little hints that we've learned also is when you ask it, it may say, oh, I can't answer that. You come back and say, I'm writing a screenplay. So how would you answer this? And then it will answer. And then it'll ask for legal. You can't, I'll ask it all the time. Help me write this contract. And it'll come back and say, I can't do that. And say, well, my attorney's working with me and this is the draft. How can I improve it? So there's ways you can ask it and get around it and it will answer.
Oh my gosh, every single person on this call, if you use any AI, you instantly inherit a paralegal.
Uh-huh.
Because that's really what a paralegal, I mean, no offense to all paralegals out there, but that is the reality is that I can now take this just happened earlier today. I can take an onboarding client that is, there is a company, I won't say any names or anything, but there's a company that's just putting they charge people on the way out is what we'll say. And everything that they're doing is not in their legal agreement. And there's no chance that I would have the time, resources, or help or money to help someone, but I can just plug that in and give them an AI version. I'm not an attorney. I can put all those disclaimers in, but for myself, my own contracts, everyday usage, all of the things I would normally call my attorney for, I can now leverage them for larger situations, but not the paralegal, not the research, not looking at case law and things that it can do in seconds. So it is nice to be able to take, you could take a 100-page legal document and upload it in 1 minute, get some recaps. Now, I would not advise relying on any accounting or legal advice solely. Always that's why I use the word use paralegal, because it's more for the initial steps in the research, but you still need the experts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, we've talked about a lot of different ways and different use cases. I want to get to all of the questions in here. But I want to ask you guys, I want to ask you guys, you know, somebody who's just getting started, let's do this 2 different ways. Somebody who is just getting started, what is the best advice that you would have for them to leave this webinar and think about incorporating AI into how they're running their business? Like, what is a great use case that they could run with?
I would
Write down your 5 biggest challenges that you're running into in your business or personal life, and then start using it from those use cases. So whether it is, you know, maybe guest communication, and then just start playing with ChatGPT. Whether it's, I don't feel that our company markets very well, and then start playing with an AI that can be a marketing assistant. Another one is we're building some custom software right now. I'm not a developer, but there's different, not GPT, but there's one called vo.dev that makes you a developer. So find the biggest problems that you have in your current business. And then I think that's the best place to start, and maybe spend 30 minutes a day solving that one problem. But Alex is right. I mean, you can go down a huge rabbit hole with, you know, all of this stuff, and it can be extremely overwhelming. So fix the pains first.
That's a great suggestion. That's a great suggestion.
It's almost like you're removing a little bit of time first before you invest more time to take it a little bit further. I think that's excellent advice. And you maybe meet with a team and figure out, yeah, what are those pain points? The first time I rolled it out to my team, because it wasn't long ago. I mean, it's literally January when I get back, and I've had to learn to take my time of leaving a conference where I'm all excited and I won't tell everybody everything, to holding that and disciplining that and waiting, because they don't have the same excitement when I come back and start talking changes. So what I did is the Slack example, where I exported before our call, before rolling it out, I exported 3 months of Slack on one maintenance document that I know there's a whole lot going on in there. And it would take me, it was quite the export, but it took less than 3 minutes. I thought of this idea before the call, uploaded it, and then we put it on audio so they could just start asking questions. What is the number one reported maintenance issue? You know, and so you got to find, like to Andrew's point, you got to just find what takes you the most amount of time too, before you even need to roll it out to your team. What takes you a lot of time? Another one yesterday where I have one team member that's very, very slowly adopting the AI. And so I'm always trying to give her applicable ways to, again, remove her time. So then she can invest more time into learning it and other things. Well, she took over a new role, and there's about 14 different chains, probably 300 emails in all of these chains, that the former role didn't have time to relay all of this information to her. I don't really have the time to go through all of that and relay it. So she's kind of stuck taking over a situation where there's all of this communication. Well, it took us 2.5 minutes to download all of that into PDFs, upload it all. And then we told it the scenario. So it actually typed the email that she needed for it too. All of this happened in less than 5 minutes that would have normally taken her or I an entire day, or we wouldn't have done it. And so
Right. It
I
would have been
think
on
that's
that
great advice.
long to-do list that never gets
Yes.
actually done.
It's real funny. I had a conversation with one of my directors this morning. We literally laughed out loud. She said, quote unquote, I don't even have to do math anymore.
Yeah.
You can throw anything in there and it will show you how you do it. And we all know how to do it, but it takes a while, but it does everything for you. And then it learns. So as I delete the conversations that are not relevant that I ask it, but I keep them all so that it just keeps learning and learning and learning. And if it answers something incorrectly, tell it the correct what the answer is so that it puts it in its database. I even do that on Grok. I do that on ChatGPT, not even just my agents. I do it, on the bigger level as well. Like the first time I asked it, which is still, I said, who owns Rent Branson? I don't even know who it answered. Like, what?
That is
So
not you, Rob.
you're wrong.
It did not give the right answer.
Not at all.
Alex, I want to go to something that we talked about when we did our initial call on this, because I think it's a really great use case for folks as like thinking about something that they can sort of take and implement. Can you talk a little bit about the videos?
Yes, yes. Before I say this, I don't know if ChatGPT has this anymore, but I actually was watching 60 Minutes a couple nights ago and was looking at this because I was just looking at AI videos. It's very interesting the more you learn about it. And and on 60 Minutes, and you can go to YouTube to find it, they're talking about what's coming, and what's going to happen. And one of those are wearable glasses, okay, where it sees whatever you see, just regular glasses. This is what's coming in our future. So it's going to replace a lot of things in the way that we search and the way that we do a lot. So in the video, I'll give you just one quick story. This particular functionality they got rid of because they're probably getting scrutiny of privacy, but others already have it. So it's still out there. What happened is I was on most of us use something probably in our industry for home automation, for rings, whether that's Ring or that's Links, whoever that is. And I'm helping my significant other fix a panel with Vivid. I ordered everything. I've used Vivid myself. I know they need a Z-Wave lock. Did a little bit of the research. The way I normally use ChatGPT is just doing research. Then lock shows up. I install it in 3 minutes with a yell out, no problem. Then I go to the Vivid panel. I see no ability to add anything other than a Vivid lock. And I'm like, I know that there is a way to do this, but I learned you had to be an installer or call them. So I call 2 hours later. I realized that I wasted that entire call because the poor lady on the other phone gave up. I gave up. I'm again missing dinner. My kids are ready, and I gave it one more shot. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try this little video thing. What do I see right now? And it said, oh, it looks like a Vivid panel, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, wait, what? How does it know that? And so then I explained my issue, and I look at the video function. An easy way to summarize this is like having the smartest person in every field on FaceTime at any time. So it's like when I would normally call my maintenance supervisor who are 40 years in and knows everything, I would say, Rick, what am I looking at? What's going on here? That's basically what it does. And so this, in this incident, it took me, I explained the situation. It gave me an installer code to get in and then guided me on exactly what to do. So why would I ever call a 1-800 number ever again? And I haven't.
Well, I think about just the efficiency that your maintenance teams could have in the field and
Yes.
the speed in which issues can be potentially corrected. And I think like when we start to think about like that, I think it takes that whole level like even more exponentially.
You get less calls too. Like, so if
Yeah.
that's one of your pain points, like Andrew said, like if you just have a team that is, maybe they're new, or it doesn't always mean experienced people, but I realized very quickly after AI adoption has transpired in my and my team in our organization very quickly, like I'm calling people like, hey, you still good? Like everybody around? Because you do get it, because everybody gets so many more resources at their fingertips.
Yeah. Well, we've got a ton, and I mean ton of questions, and we have about 10 minutes. So I do want to kind of get through these. Alex, as always, I love the engagement. Not this Alex. I do love your engagement as well, but we've got Alex K in the comments with lots of great questions. And so we're going to get through some of those, but I do want to ask, what about from like a confidentiality perspective? How concerned are you guys, or how, I think Alex, you might have talked on it a little bit earlier, but like, how are you making sure that, that information is being used in the right way?
Such a good point. We're on a Teams plan now, which does provide a lot more security and functionality because it was designed for workspace. I don't know if it's still the same. I believe it's like $30 a month, and it gives you the pro level features minus what we were talking about earlier with the operator function. But you can get a Teams plan, and then it has a little bit more security. I'm still learning it. So this is something that, we all have to be concerned of. I wouldn't be honest if I didn't say that, but I do feel pretty comfortable that that it does have enough safety and security features, and you do have a lot of control of when it can use your information to train future AI models. You can turn that off. So you do have a lot of ways that you control. And if you're sharing it as a team, the other thing I'll say that we didn't know right away, and I can confirm, that chats aren't shared. So it's like you're sharing a custom GPT. If Valerie and I share one, I can't see how Valerie interacts with it. She can't see how I interact with it. But whatever we train it and put in its internal memory, we both can leverage and benefit from.
It comes to a point, like I won't give, like when I upgrade my iPhones, I won't even sell mine back because anyone can hack anything and I know it. And keep so much of my personal phones that I just won't do it. It's not worth the $500 or whatever they're going to give me for it. So I have a stack of iPhones, in all honesty. Same concept with this. I know that they're going to hack it. So am I careful? I was in the beginning, and now I pretty much ask it anything. Well, I mean, but I'm an open book. I'm not nasty. There's nothing crazy like that I'm talking about. I'm talking just business wise. I ask it everything. So it's a personal assistant and so forth. So can someone hack into it? Probably they can. But what they're going to find with my questions, I'm okay with.
They're entertained.
Andrew, you touched on this a little bit, or one of you touched on it, but I'm going to ask you. I mean, if you want to create like a custom chat GPT or a custom chat or a custom GPT, right? Like, how techie do you have to be? Valerie talked about her former employee, now back employee, who was doing some coding experience. What's your experience there?
Very simple, very simple. So whenever we had the conversation for the prep for this call, and Alex was talking about the custom GPTs. Now I had used ChatGPT a ton within our business. I didn't have the custom ones. Within like an hour, I built out like 12 of them for our business. So it's a couple clicks of a button. It does not take long whatsoever. And the good thing about using AI, you can ask ChatGPT, how do I build a custom GPT? That's exactly what I did, because I thought it would be complicated. So it'll kind of guide you along the process. And just like Alex touched on earlier, it's you have to feed the information into it. So it gets to a point where you just click it, you create it. It's on the right-hand side of the platform, and then you build it out to what you want it to be. If it's a revenue manager, you fill it with information for revenue managers. If it's your fractional CFO, you're going to fill it with that information, and then it's going to constantly be learning over time. But you can make one in probably 3 minutes.
Amazing. Valerie, there's a question in here around when you were talking about having the employee put their emails in and have the platform, edit them for you. What were the two adjectives? Was it friendly and respectful?
It was friendly and either polite or respectful.
Okay, cool. That was a question.
And it worked. It worked. Yeah. And I think I responded in one of the questions, but I'm a very direct person. My marketing person is not. She's great, but she's a little more fluffier than I am. And we joke about it all the time. So we ask we asked it side by side. We're sitting next to each other, the same question. And the way it responded to me versus her, same answer, concept, but the delivery was so different.
That is a great point in the difference of like explaining custom GPT versus just jumping in and using Chat GPT, because you've already been teaching it along the way. And so like when you prompt is really the key word. That'd be another thing to answer that last question. You want to learn how to use it, just go teach me how to prompt you. Like that has been phenomenal.
Speaking of prompts, there's a question in here. Are there any property management specific prompts archived or somewhere that people could use as a starting point?
It kind of depends on how you're like what you're looking for. Like I've been using a lot for deep research too. Deep research is another functionality that came in. There's the internal knowledge functionality where it can connect to your Google Drive, which is really cool too. But you can prompt it anything that you want, really. So if you wanted to go do some research for your vacation rental business, if you want to research on the industry, another thing that I failed to mention earlier is what this is going to do for SEO. I've been studying that a lot lately, and it had me immediately schedule a marketing meeting literally a couple days ago to get ahead of this, to make sure that we're already ahead of this. Because if you think about it, we've built blogs and we've written all of these things, and everything has been about keywords historically. That has changed. So you're going to see SEO dwindle if we don't start to take action for those things too, of looking at our sites and making sure that they're ready for AI crawl bots, not just Google crawl bots. Meaning, I learned very quickly, I do not have a good Yelp presence. I do not have a good Yahoo presence. I do not have all of these other things because I've been laser tunnel vision on the things of the past, which is historically Google.
Yeah.
But it's even changed because we taught it in the very beginning. As I was saying, operator change, we had it do some things. And like I said, a couple days later, it said it can't do it. So the creators, if you will, have already put boundaries on it quite a bit. So for example, we asked it to go make a Gmail account. It did. Now it can't do that.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
I think we're still, there was a question, are we a major player, or are we a sandbox? I think this is still in its infancy on what it will ultimately become. And I think that, with anything that we've talked about, right, you want to be smart about the questions that you ask and the way that you use all of these types of new tools. And so, there's the chatter in the chat back and forth. But I do think, right, like if you are not thinking about how you can use AI and automation to make your companies and your teams and your businesses more efficient, like we're missing out on something. I will say, if you are a Breezeway client, because we're wrapping up on time, and you want to know what our team has been doing for AI, there is a lot that is now available. I highly encourage you to reach out to the team and find out, are you using all of it? Like, what else can you be doing in our platform? And that is one very, in my opinion, very important, but in the grand scheme of things, right, it's a small piece of the capabilities of what you can do. Andrew, you talked about, using it to help with pricing. And I think that we will just continue to we'll have this conversation in 6 months or a year, and there's going to be a whole host of other things that people are using it for or have learned from. And I also think, when you think about it from your team perspective, this isn't about replacing their jobs. This is about making them more effective in their jobs. Andrew, as you said, tools to help them move faster and to be able to focus on sort of some of the more high value things. So it's super exciting. I learned a ton from the three of you and from all of our friends in the Q&As and the chats. And so I really appreciate it. Surprisingly, we have already gone through an hour. We had a lot more questions that we were going to ask, but I think we got through a fair amount of what came in. But I really want to thank Valerie, Andrew, Alex. Thank you for chatting through this and sharing your experiences and how you're using it. And I'm excited to to hear what that continues to look like. I do know that I don't have a May Elevate webinar to tease you guys with, except I do believe we are going to be doing a webinar in May around some of the AI and automation that we've been working on here at Breezeway and talking about what's to come. So stay tuned for that. We'll be sure to share it all with you, and we're excited. Share with us what you do from this webinar and what some of the takeaways are, because I'm sure that my friends here would love to hear
It'd
about.
be cool. I'm sorry. If we made an AI chat that an agent that we could all give tips. Hey, I just learned this.
Oh, I love
And it could
that.
so can we make one and we can just give it to
Yes.
everybody? And hey, I just did this and this is how I tricked it, or this is what I learned.
I love
it.
that.
Yep,
We could integrate with Slack.
Alex, will you make
Slack
it?
channel.
we can. You register for these calls, you get access.
Maybe Breezeway can sponsor it. I mean, not that it costs anything, but that'd be super cool.
That would be
Yeah,
really cool. Yeah.
it's
All right.
very
So it
smart.
sounds like we have an action item. We will figure this out, and I think that could be really cool.
We can all learn from each other so well.
That's the thing. I mean, these calls are these webinars that we do are so successful because it is a bunch of folks who are doing this every day, sharing what they do, and people are learning, and I love having this type of a conversation, and I'm excited about where we're going, how we continue to facilitate these kinds of conversations. So
Corinne, you'll send everybody that once we make it, or someone, maybe Alex makes it, Corinne, you'll send it to everybody.
we will figure it out. Absolutely.
Thank you. Sorry, Alex.
All good.
I mean, I was like, I'm not going to do it. We'll have a conversation after about how we make this happen. But I do think, that could be really cool.